Good morning, good people. Look, I ain't gonna waste no time. I know why you're here. You're stuck in your head, thinking about things that probably ain't even gonna happen. You got 5 different versions of a conversation you ain't even had yet. You playing chess against yourself, and you still losing. And let me tell you something. Overthinking is a dream killer. It'll have you doubting yourself, hesitating, and missing out on opportunities that were made for you. It'll turn a small problem into a big one and a big problem into a crisis. Some of y'all ain't got no business being this stressed. So how do you stop? 1, stop trying to control everything. You don't control the future. You don't control how people feel. And guess what? That's a good thing. Life ain't meant to be figured out in one sitting. Let go a little bit. You ever notice how the best things happen when you least expect them? That's God's way of showing you, I got this. 2, take action. Any action. Overthinking loves idle time. If you sit around too long, your brain will start making up problems just to keep busy. You gotta move. You overthinking about a job? Apply. Overthinking about a relationship? Talk. Overthinking about a dream? Start. Action beats anxiety every single time. 3, trust yourself. Half the stuff you stress about, you already know what to do. You're just scared. You worried about making the wrong choice. But let me tell you, a wrong decision is better than no decision. You can fix a mistake, you can learn from it, but you can't fix nothing if you don't move. 4, laugh it off. Some of y'all out here treating life like it's a math test. Ain't nobody grading you. You got to learn to laugh at yourself. You ever think back on something you were stressing about a year ago and realize it didn't even matter? Yeah, that's going to be you next year too. Chill out. 5, pray, then let it go. Listen, I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're going to pray about it, stop worrying about it. You can't do both. Faith and fear can't live in the same house. Either you trust that things are going to work out, or you spend your life worrying about things you can't control. The choice is yours. At the end of the day, life is too short to be stuck in your own head. Get out there, take risks, have fun, and stop thinking so much. You ain't got to figure everything out today. Just keep moving forward, and I promise it'll all work out. Now go on and live your life. Here's a detailed 1,000-word expansion on the first keynote. Life has a way of making us feel like we're in control when in reality, we're just riding the waves. The problem is, a lot of people spend too much time trying to control every little thing, every outcome, every conversation, every reaction. It's exhausting. You sit there planning, analyzing, running scenarios in your head, thinking that if you just figure out the right formula, you can make everything go exactly the way you want. Well, my guest today, she has it all. But that's not how life works. The more you try to control everything, the more you stress yourself out. Think about it. You ever plan out a conversation in your head, thought of every possible response, only for the other person to say something completely unexpected? You went in thinking you were playing chess and life hit you with a game of Uno. You can't predict what people are going to do, you can't control how they feel, and you definitely can't force things to go your way just because you prepared for it. You're not a mind reader, you're not a fortune teller. And trying to be one will drive you crazy. A lot of overthinking comes from the need to control. You want to make sure you don't fail, don't embarrass yourself, don't say the wrong thing, don't mess up. You want to be in the driver's seat of everything, but let me tell you something. Sometimes the best thing you can do is sit in the passenger seat and enjoy the ride. You ever notice that when you're driving, you're focused on the road, the other cars, the stoplights, the speed limit, but when you're in the passenger seat, you get to look around, notice things, relax a little. That's how life works. The more you try to control, the less you actually experience. Now, A lot of people confuse control with preparation. They think that if they're not constantly worried about things, they're being careless. That's not true. There's a difference between being responsible and being obsessed. Being responsible means you do your part, you prepare, and then you let things unfold as they're meant to. Being obsessed means you never let go. You hold on so tight that you suffocate yourself. You got to learn to release. Some of y'all stress about things that ain't even your business to control. You worried about what somebody else thinks about you. You worried about whether somebody is going to like you. You worried about how other people feel. Let me tell you something. Not only is that not your responsibility, but it's also a waste of your energy. People gonna think what they want to think. People gonna feel how they want to feel. You can do everything right, say all the right things, be the best version of yourself, and somebody still ain't gonna like you. And guess what? That's fine. That's life. You can't live your life trying to manage everybody else's perception of you. You ever notice how the people who overthink the most usually have the hardest time making decisions? It's because they're too busy trying to predict the outcome. They don't want to make the wrong move, so they just sit there thinking, overanalyzing, stressing, and while they're stuck in their own head, life is moving forward without them. The truth is, no matter how much you think about something, you're never going to have all the answers. You can research, you can plan, you can try to map out every possible scenario, but at the end of the day, life is unpredictable. Sometimes you just got to make a move and trust that you'll figure it out along the way. Look at the most successful people in the world. Do you think they got there by controlling every little thing? No, they took risks. They made mistakes. They learned from failure. They didn't sit around overthinking every decision, trying to make everything perfect before they started. They just started. And guess what? They figured it out as they went. You know why? Because that's how you don't get all the answers before you begin. The answers come as you move. You ever see a kid learning how to ride a bike? They don't sit there reading manuals, watching videos, and making sure they have a perfect strategy before they hop on. No, they just get on the bike and start pedaling. And sure, they might fall a couple of times, they might wobble, but eventually they get the hang of it. That's how you got to approach life. Stop trying to control every little detail before you start moving. Just get on the bike and pedal. Another thing about trying to control everything, it takes the joy out of life. You ever been around somebody who can't just go with the flow? Somebody who always needs a plan, always needs to know what's next, always trying to control the mood, the situation, the people around them. It's exhausting. You don't want to be that person. The people who are the happiest, the ones who seem to truly enjoy life, they're the ones who have learned how to let go. They're not overthinking every step. They're not stressing over things they can't change. They're just living. Think about some of the best moments in your life. I guarantee you most of them weren't planned. They happened unexpectedly. Maybe it was a spontaneous trip, a conversation you didn't see coming, a decision you made in the moment that turned into something amazing. That's the beauty of life. It's unpredictable. The best things happen when you stop trying to control everything and just let life happen. Now, I know some of y'all are thinking, but what if things go wrong? And I get it. Nobody wants to fail. Nobody wants to make mistakes. But here's the thing. Things will go wrong sometimes. That's part of the process. You can do everything right and still face obstacles. You can prepare as much as you want, but life will still throw curveballs at you. The goal isn't to avoid mistakes. The goal is to be able to handle them when they come. Think about it like this. Imagine you're driving and you hit a pothole. Do you pull over, get out of the car, and just sit there complaining about how the pothole shouldn't have been there? No, you keep driving. Maybe you slow down a little, maybe you adjust your route, but you keep moving forward. That's how you got to approach life. Stop trying to control the road and just learn how to drive. The truth is, you're never going to have it all figured out. You're never going to be in full control, and that's okay. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can stop stressing yourself out over things that aren't in your hands. The only thing you can control is yourself, your mindset, your actions, your attitude. Everything else, that's not up to you. And once you truly understand that, life gets a whole lot easier. Overthinking loves stillness. It thrives in those moments when you're sitting around doing nothing but running thoughts in circles. You start with one idea, then another pops up, then another, and before you know it, you've created a whole story in your head about something that hasn't even happened yet. You convince yourself that if you just think long enough, analyze enough, and prepare enough, you'll figure everything out. But what really happens? Nothing. You don't move. You don't act. You just sit there, trapped in your thoughts, letting life pass you by. You ever notice how the more time you give yourself to think about something, the harder it is to make a decision? That's because your brain isn't designed to sit in one place and process the same thought over and over. It needs momentum. It needs movement. When you act, even in a small way, your brain shifts from what if mode to what's next mode. That's why some of the best decisions you've ever made happened when you just went for it, without spending days or weeks overanalyzing. The moment you take action, your mind stops treating the situation like a mystery that needs to be solved and starts focusing on solutions. The problem is, a lot of people think they need the perfect plan before they can act. They want to know every detail, predict every possible outcome, and make sure there's zero chance of failure before they take the first step. But that's not how life works. You're never going to have all the answers up front. You're never going to feel 100% ready. If you wait for the perfect moment, you'll be waiting forever. The only way to know what works is to do something, anything. Make a move, take a step, adjust as you go. Look at successful people, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, anybody at the top of their game. Do you think they got there by sitting around thinking? No, they got there by doing. They didn't have all the answers when they started. They just started. They learned as they went. They made mistakes, adjusted, and kept moving forward. You don't need a perfect plan. You need momentum. Even if you don't know what the right move is, making some move is better than doing nothing. A lot of times, people overthink because they're scared of making the wrong choice. They think that if they choose the wrong path, everything will fall apart. But here's the truth. Most of the time, the wrong choice isn't as bad as you think. Even if you mess up, you can fix it. You can learn from it. You can try again. But if you do nothing, you stay stuck. You don't grow. You don't get anywhere. Think about riding a bike. When you first learned, you didn't sit there analyzing the physics of balance or researching different pedaling techniques. You just got on the bike and started pedaling. You probably wobbled, maybe even fell a few times, but eventually you figured it out. That's how action works. The more you do something, the more you learn and the better you get. But you can't learn from a place of inaction. You have to move. The funny thing is, when you start taking action, even if it's small, your confidence grows. You stop doubting yourself so much. You realize that even if things don't go perfectly, you're capable of handling whatever happens. That's why people who are always doing something, always working toward their goals, always taking steps forward, don't overthink as much. They don't have time to sit around second-guessing themselves. They're too busy making things happen. If you ever feel stuck in your head, overanalyzing a situation, the best thing you can do is get up and do something. Anything. Move your body, go for a walk, start a task, even if it's small. Take one tiny step toward what you've been overthinking about. You'll be surprised how much clarity you get just by shifting your energy from thinking to doing. The truth is, most of the things we overthink about aren't as complicated as we make them. We create all these what-if scenarios, imagine all these possible failures, and stress ourselves out over decisions that, in reality, aren't that deep. When you take action, you realize that a lot of what you were worrying about wasn't even real. Your mind was just making things bigger than they actually were. You ever notice how when you finally do something you were overthinking about, you end up saying, that wasn't as bad as I thought? That's because the fear was never about the action itself. It was about the unknown. And the only way to remove the unknown is to step into it. Once you do, it's no longer a mystery. It's an experience. An experience makes you stronger, more confident, and less likely to fall into the trap of overthinking again. Some of the biggest regrets people have in life aren't about things they did. They're about things they didn't do. The chances they didn't take, the conversations they didn't have, the opportunities they let pass by because they were too busy thinking instead of acting. You don't want to look back on your life and realize you spent most of it stuck in your own head. You want to look back and know that you tried, that you lived, that you moved. At the end of the day, nothing changes until you do. You can read all the books, watch all the motivational videos, plan all you want, but if you don't take action, nothing happens. Overthinking won't get you where you want to be. Movement will. You don't have to know exactly where you're going, and you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to start. When you pray about something, you're supposed to leave it in God's hands, but too many people pray and then go right back to worrying about it. That's not how faith works. Faith means trusting that things are going to work out even when you don't see how. It means believing that there's a bigger plan in motion even if it doesn't make sense to you in the moment. Worrying is like putting your problems in a box, handing them to God, and then snatching them right back 5 minutes later. If you're going to pray, you have to let it go. You have to trust. The reason so many people overthink is because they feel like they have to figure everything out on their own. They think they have to control every outcome, solve every problem, and make everything happen by their own strength. But life doesn't work like that. There are things in this world that are beyond your control, things that no amount of thinking, planning, or stressing will change. And when you hold on too tightly to things that aren't meant for you to carry, all you do is weigh yourself down. You ever notice how some people seem at peace no matter what's going on in their lives? It's not because they don't have problems. It's not because they have everything figured out. It's because they've learned how to release. They know how to give their worries to God and move forward. They understand that worrying doesn't add anything to their life. It only takes away. It takes away joy. It takes away energy. And it takes away time. And time is something you don't get back. You ever spend hours, maybe even days, worrying about something, only for it to work itself out in the end? All that stress, all that overthinking, and for what? It didn't change the outcome. It didn't make things better. All it did was steal your peace in the meantime. The problem with overthinking is that it tricks you into believing you're doing something productive, but in reality, you're just running in circles. You're exhausting yourself without making any real progress. Faith is the opposite of overthinking. Overthinking is based on fear. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of things not going the way you want them to. Faith is based on trust. It's believing that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. It's understanding that even when things don't go your way, there's still a lesson in it, a purpose behind it. When you live with faith, you stop trying to force things. You stop overanalyzing. You stop worrying about things you can't control. You pray, and then you keep moving forward. There's power in surrendering. People think surrendering means giving up, but that's not true. Surrendering means recognizing that some things are bigger than you. It means understanding that your job is to do your best and leave the rest in God's hands. When you try to carry everything by yourself, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel stressed. You're going to burn out. But when you release that burden, when you stop overthinking and start trusting, you free yourself. You give yourself permission to breathe. Think about the times in your life when things worked out in ways you didn't expect. Maybe you lost a job and thought it was the worst thing that could happen, only to end up in a better position later. Maybe a relationship ended and you thought your world was falling apart, only to realize later that it was a blessing in disguise. In the moment, you didn't see the bigger picture. You were too caught up in what was going wrong, but looking back, you realize everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to. That's how life works. You don't always see the plan while you're in it, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. The mind is a powerful thing. If you let it, it will create problems that don't even exist. It will have you overanalyzing every situation, questioning every decision, and second guessing yourself until you're stuck in a cycle of doubt. But when you learn to let go, to trust that things are unfolding the way they're meant to, you take back control. You stop letting fear dictate your actions. You stop wasting time trying to predict the future and start living in the present. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in life happen when you stop trying to control everything. When you stop overthinking and start trusting, doors open, opportunities come, solutions appear. It's not a coincidence, it's because you've created space for things to happen. When you're too busy overthinking, you block your own blessings. You focus so much on what could go wrong that you don't leave room for things to go right. But when you step back and trust, you allow life to flow the way it's supposed to. You can't have faith and fear at the same time. They don't mix. If you truly believe that things will work out, you won't spend your time worrying about them. If you truly trust the process, you won't feel the need to control every detail. You can't be halfway in and halfway out. Either you believe that you're being guided, that things are unfolding for your good, or you don't. If you do, then act like it. Walk with confidence. Make decisions without second guessing. Take action without waiting for perfect conditions. Stop letting your mind be a battlefield and start letting faith lead the way. People waste so much time overthinking things that, in the grand scheme of life, don't even matter. A year from now, will you even remember half the things you're stressing about today? Probably not. 5 years from now, will it have mattered whether you made the absolute perfect decision in this exact moment? No. What will matter is that you kept moving, that you trusted yourself, that you didn't let fear keep you stuck. Fear will always try to convince you that you need to have it all figured out before you move. It will tell you that you need more time, more information, more certainty. But that's a lie. You don't need to know everything to take the next step. You just need to trust that when you do, the rest will follow. Some of the best things in life come when you least expect them, when you let go of the need to control and allow life to happen. When you pray and then continue to stress, you're not trusting. You're trying to take back the very thing you just asked for help with. If you're going to pray about it, let it go. If you're going to believe that things will work out, stop acting like they won't. The moment you stop overthinking, stop overanalyzing, and start trusting, life gets a whole lot easier.